Good day everyone, welcome to today's video. So today we have to talk about something, and that's been something that has been bothering me over the course of the last few weeks and even more than that. And it's about the brand that I used to love. It's about Canon. As some of you might know, I've been a Canon shooter for forever basically. This year is my first camera that I've ever bought, and it's the Canon 1200D, and this is literally what started it all. And well, it's a Canon, you know. I've bought this camera about a decade ago. It must be like 9 years or something, and I've been shooting on this for I think about 4 years before finally going out and buying my first full-frame camera, which was the Canon EOS 5D Mark II, I think it was back then, or even the Mark I, I can't remember. Then I shot on a 1DX, then I got the 6D Mark II, and then I got my R5, which I'm using right now. I'm recording this on my Canon EOS R5. So as you can see, I'm pretty loyal to Canon and I've been buying a lot of stuff from Canon, including lenses. This is also being filmed on a Canon lens right now. It's the 24-70 L IS USM, so it's a red ringed pro lens, and we'll come back to that later. So just to prevent anyone from getting something wrong here, I still love Canon bodies. The Canon cameras, they are still great. My R5 shoots great photos, it is capable of doing amazing video. I'm shooting this 4K 60 right now. I can record like half an hour straight and it doesn't overheat, as everyone tends to say. Haha, it overheats. No, it doesn't. I really like what Canon is doing with the R series right now, like the R3, R5, R6, R7 and R10, and also the EOS R and the RP, even though they are a bit flawed because they've been the first in the line and they had some problems. But still, Canon was able to make the switch to mirrorless, and they have replaced their most pro camera, which was the 1DX, and now is the R3. So that gets to show that Canon really wants to make their entire line switching to mirrorless, and that's great, that's awesome, that's the future. Alongside with the new R series cameras, Canon also announced the new lens mount, which is the RF mount. Now, the RF mount in itself is a great thing. You get the ability to control settings in your camera from your lens, so you can map different functionalities like your ISO, for example, to a separate ring on the lens, which is a great feature, to be honest. But it of course only works for RF lenses because you need that additional ring on the lens. And while we're talking RF lenses, let's get straight to the problem right now. Canon has announced this new mount and also has announced some lenses for RF. But the problem is, those RF lenses are, yeah, you might say fucking expensive. Let's take the 70-200 as an example. The 70-200 f.28 is a lens that a lot of people are using and loving for really good reason. I myself really love a 70-200 f2.8. And if you were to buy this one for an R series camera and you don't want to use an EF adapter, you'd be spending about 2.5 grand. That's a lot of money. Now, of course, this is a pro lens. It's made for the absolute pros. But what if you're not a pro? What if you're just a semi-pro or an amateur or even just a beginner? You can use the EF adapter. That's what Canon says, and it works great. You can see it right now. I'm adapting EF glass to the RF camera and the autofocus works great. Image quality is amazing. It's basically working as if the camera would have an EF mount. But there's still a problem, and that's the fact that Canon doesn't allow third-party manufacturers to build lenses for the RF mount. Now, really, heads up, this isn't something that Canon has said publicly, but that's something you can put together. There have been brands making RF lenses and all of a sudden their shop disappeared. Now you can't find any third-party RF lenses, at least not from what I know. I've also been talking to some experts in the camera store back when I was in Munich, and they said the same thing. They also told me that Canon never said that they block RF for third parties, but there has to be a reason why there are no third-party lenses for RF. I'd be really interested to hear from someone like from Sigma or from Tamron if this really is the case. But all that we can say right now is that this seems to be the case. And honestly, I think too, because if third parties could make RF lenses, they would. Because why wouldn't they, you know? Okay, so you might say, well, it's Canon's cameras, it's Canon's mount, it's Canon's technology. Why can't they say we don't want any third-party lenses on our cameras? I think there are two reasons why. First reason is competition. Take a look at Sony, for example. You get incredibly good glass from Sigma for Sony. And the second reason is that this policy also drives a lot of people away from Canon, and that's just plain stupid. If you look into buy a new camera such as the, I don't know, the RP or the R7 or the R10, if we are talking about more of the like cheaper cameras, I mean cheaper, they are still pretty expensive, but cheap for what they are. And if you want to buy native lenses for those cameras, you'll be spending a lot of money. And once again, those lenses are made for pros, and pros use them. But why can't we have third-party lenses for the RF mount? I'm getting a bit emotional right now because this really drives me crazy, as you can see. But what I think what Canon doesn't really understand is that if third parties are allowed to build RF lenses, the pros who are currently buying native Pro-line RF glass will still do that. Because no matter how good a third-party manufacturer is, they can never be as good as the original lenses. At least that's my experience, and I'm convinced about this because Canon knows their mount best, obviously. They know how everything works, and therefore they can tailor a lens to be exactly made for this type of mount and for their cameras, and that's just why you typically get the best performance from native glass. That's for sure. But you can still get good photos from third parties. Take a look at my Sigma 35 1.4. It's right over there, and I'm using this for literally every single car shoot, and it works great. The photos are awesome, it's sharp, the colors are great, it works amazing. But why can't we have that for RF? Why do I have to use a stupid RF to EF adapter, which works? But why? Why can't I take advantage of all the features my new camera has? If I spent $4,500 on the Canon R5, which is what I have done, I want to be able to use all the features, you know? And as said, the pros will still go to the Canon Pro-line glass, because that's what brings you the best quality. Period. But everyone who's not an absolute professional would still love to have RF glass. And the people who are in this segment don't buy native RF glass. Believe me on this one, they don't. Because I wouldn't do either. I have a lot of EF glass, and I'm really not looking into buying RF glass, which is super fucking expensive if I buy it from Canon. So I just keep my EF and adapt it. And that's what everyone does. Everyone who is not an absolute pro and who cannot afford like the huge amount of money you have to pay for the RF lenses will just adapt EF. So Canon, you don't make any money with those people. They buy old EF glass and also third-party glass like my Sigma 35 or my Samyang 85 and so on and so forth, and adapt it. You don't make any money with those people, you know? So it literally doesn't make a difference if third parties are allowed to make RF glass, so people buy from third parties, or if people buy old EF used glass. It doesn't make a difference. The pros will still stick to your red-ringed L IS USM Pro lenses. That's how it's gonna be. And all of the stuff I have been mentioning right now is what drives me to a conclusion where I say that I'm not recommending buying Canon, at least at the current state. Until Canon doesn't allow third parties to make proper RF glass, I will not recommend anyone to buy a Canon camera right now. I would suggest you to buy a Sony, because the third party lens market is amazing and it natively fits. Without any adapters, you will get the full advantage of all the feature sets there are, and it works. And as you might see, hear or expect, it's a bit sad to me, because I've been a huge fan of Canon, as I have explained in the beginning of the video. I like Canon cameras, I really do. But the fact that Canon is locking down RF in the way they do it right now, that's not good. That's really not good. And I want great third-party glass. I want that for RF, because it has been great for EF. Sigma 35, Sigma 70-200, Tamron 24-70, those lenses are great. Why can't we have that, Canon? You know? And the adapter isn't an argument. The adapter is just a nice to have feature. but it can't be your main driver. That's just not the way to go, because once again, if I buy a Sony, I can buy third-party lenses, and it works without an adapter with all the features there are. So literally, why would I right now buy a Canon in favor of a Sony? And also there's Nikon, I know, but I'm not so familiar with Nikon, that's why I'm always talking about Sony. Not to say Nikon sucks or anything, at least not in this video. But yeah, right now I think I have said everything I wanted to say. It's a bit of a different video, it's just me sitting down, sharing a thought or two, and please make sure to go down in the comments and tell me what you think about videos like this, where I'm just sitting here and talking about stuff. It was just something I wanted to get out there, you know, just something I've been wanting to talk about, and maybe just want to be someone who is raising attention about this, because there have been a lot of people talking about this. I can link you some videos down below, because there are people who can explain the problem even better than I did, I think. So I just wanted to be a part of those people, and in hopes that Canon changes something sooner or later, preferably sooner. But yeah, I've said everything I wanted to say, so let's wrap it up for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, even though it's a bit of a different video. With all that said and done, I wish you a great new year. Let's turn 2023 into a banger for all of us. And now, I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, bye.